Let's begin with the demonstration of the front end of our mobile application, developed with React Native. The name of the app is puntocom, and it's designed to work as a complete business control tool. With it, we can manage our inventory, check progress tab, keep the track of the items we currently have available, and basically organize everything related with our inventory system. At the start, we have this screen that gives us the option to either create an account or login. Obviously, in the login section, you'll find everything related to entering the correct credentials of an account that was previously created in the app. On the other hand, we have the create account section, which is the part we'll focus on right now. Here we have a form where we need to enter the request information. This form is fully validated, meaning we can enter incorrect information or leave any of the required fields empty. In the name field, we're going to type something like old user. Why? Because I want to demonstrate one of the system features. If you try to register a password that has already been used before in the app, like this one, it will throw an error. So let's validate that. Make sure both password fields match, since that's important. We try to register the account, and it says that the email is already registered. That's one of the features, validating that the email doesn't already exist in the system. Now, let's enter the information for a new user. What email will we use? Well, use this one here, a new email that isn't registered. We'll also meet the password requirements: a special character, a minimum length of 8 characters, and at least one number. This password meets all of that, and of course, if the passwords don't match, we'll get an error too. So now, we registered the account since the email has not been used before. The system sends a verification code. We entered. Let's check our inbox to enter the correct code here. Here it is. We just need to enter the information we received. The code is 34708. We send it, and the account is successfully verified. And we're inside the application. And to test everything again, we can either create another account or simply log in using the information we just registered. Now, let's move on to the part where we'll log in using an account that has previously created and the validations that come with it. By pressing the login button, we are taken to this screen that we simply need to enter our account information. If I try to log in without entering anything, we get the same validation errors. The email is required and the password is required. The system also checks that the credentials are actually correct. For example, if I try to log in with an email but the password isn't the correct one, I press login and it shows incorrect credentials. So, it validates that the login only works when everything is correct. On the other hand, I also need to enter the correct email. For example, if I type .com instead of .com, it will still show incorrect credential even if the password is valid, because the email isn't correct. Once I fix it and type .com, then it lets us log in as the new user we registered earlier. Now, we press logout in this drop-down menu. Let's test it here. We get confirmed that the login did work correctly with the password we created earlier. And obviously, the system detects which user has logged in. This is one of the we added a moment ago. And the password is the same one we used. We log in, and there it is. The system distinguishes between one user and another at the moment of logging in. So let's move on to the next part.
Aquí tenemos la parte de gestión de proveedores. Estos son datos generales de los proveedores que tenemos en nuestro sistema. Aquí podemos encontrar información relacionada con aquellas personas que nos proveen los productos para poder ingresarlos a nuestro almacén, nuestro punto de venta. Igual que en el sistema de categorías, tenemos una lista horizontal donde nos muestra con cada información de cada uno de los proveedores actualmente. Actualmente tenemos 11 proveedores activos en la base de datos, de los cuales podemos seleccionar alguno de ellos y editarlos para poder desactivarlos o en su caso desactivarlos, activarlos. ¿Por qué es importante la gestión de proveedores? Mantener una base de datos actualizada de tus proveedores, pues te permite gestionar mejor tus relaciones comerciales, controlar tu cadena de suministros y tomar decisiones más informadas sobre tus compras. Eso es importante, ya que es un punto de venta. Es importante tener en cuenta el ingreso de nuestros productos y cuál proveedor nos conviene más invertir. Eso pues, nos apoya en la gestión de proveedores, para tener como una información más general de ellos. Ahora en la parte de crear un nuevo proveedor. Igual que todos los formularios, esta parte también está validada de la información, que no falte algún campo. Aquí rellenaremos pues con algún proveedor ficticio, de que no proveedor como nombre y apellido, que su empresa sea una empresa única, que ingresamos algún teléfono pues válido, un email ficticio, correo@correo.com y dirección le pondremos sin dirección. Eso es simplemente ilustrativo para que quede claro. Y creamos nuestro proveedor. Ahora nos aparece una pantalla emergente que proveedor creado exitosamente. Ahora vamos a su área y al final de la lista horizontal nos aparece nuestro nuevo proveedor con sus datos validados correctamente. Y ahora se actualiza, ahora son 12 proveedores actuales con 12 proveedores activos. Eso es general de los proveedores.
Hi there, my name is Roman, and today I'm going to explain you the backend architecture and technologies that we use to create puntocom backend, which is a service that we offer to work on our puntocom application, which is a front-end application generated and destined to control the inventory of any business and to administrate and to handle better the resources that any business has. So it's very important to have a solid backend to support all those kind of actions, which are creating sales or generate, for example, products, categories, verification codes, etc. It is a well-known and complete backend dedicated only for this application. And actually, we create both applications, mobile React Native application and a React Web application. And they were bought together with the same objective to create a solution for any kind of business which offer products and they can sell anything basically with these kind of applications. As I mentioned before, so I'm going to explain you the technologies that we use. For example, first of all, the language, the programming language that we use was Node.js plus TypeScript. And I want to say this, and I want to say this distinction because it is not the same Node.js that TypeScript itself. TypeScript is a superset of Node.js, of JavaScript in general, and we use it to generate some types in our code, which is pretty important because if we want to have uh, a solid principle or to make use of any architecture in the future, we must use types. It's better to keep our code safe and maintainable, scalable, and testable in the future, which is one of the main goals that every single developer must have in mind when they create applications. But anyway, we use Express as the framework of Node to make use of that. And the database that we use, which one's the database? PostgreSQL, which is a SQL database. So we use tables here with some foreign keys and primary keys and so on and so on. So basically, this is the source of information where we store all of that. And we create that thanks to a technology called Docker Compose or Docker itself. That's the correct name, Docker. With Docker, we create some images for PostgreSQL. And basically, as you can see here in my file system, we create a well-known file system structure. And this is because we use clean architecture. I don't know if it spells like this, but I think so. And we use a repository pattern, and obviously some design patterns such as I don't know. I don't remember the name of the pattern singleton to connect to the database. And we use to here clean architecture. And at the same time, we use some solid principles. Like, for example, the list cup substitution, which is really, really important because we make use of interfaces instead of just direct classes. And we use obviously dependency injection and many other techniques well known of the world of the programming to implement these kind of solutions in our application, which is incredible because it is basically give a further step here. Well, we're gonna see here that I'm gonna try to open all of the folders here, and you can see that there's too much information here. Basically, use cases, and this is only for the application field. And we have the comment here, which I apply here the adapter pattern. Awesome. With every single of the third-party libraries. Okay. And I have here some template emails, and I got the PDFs to create because this system allows to create PDFs too, like reports and the regular expressions. And obviously I had the dependency injection, and I make it by hand, if I want to say it like this. But obviously we could use a library, but instead of that, I did it by myself. As you can see here, I'm trying to make use of the singleton pattern and getting the same instance of the Prisma, the Prisma data source. Oh my God, I just forgot to say that. To handle the database, I used Prisma, which is an ORM, and it's easier to use it because we used to have only JavaScript knowledge instead of just have to write raw SQL statements or queries. It is not bad, but it's faster to use this instead of just SQL directly. Okay, so thanks to that, right, Prisma. So well, and all these containers we make use of the dependency injection, and I try to pass through the different use cases to different services, controllers, and obviously the roots of the backend of the API. Okay, so as you can see, there's too much information here, and I got the domain is on the domain field 2, which has the business rules. We want to find here the business rules that we try to follow to accomplish with every single requirement that they need. And obviously here I got the Prisma implementation of my data sources. And as you can see, so they are abstract classes, pretty useful nowadays. And well, too much information here. I'm not going to explain you every single file because, oh my God, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be hell. But as you can see here, I just try to follow the solid principles, and I use services to implement some utilities like generate PDFs. And I will do the presentation where I can find the controllers and where I can communicate the controller with its corresponding service, and the service with the use cases, and the use cases with the make use of the repository pattern to implement the access of the data source, in this case with Prisma. But in the future, obviously, I can apply different databases like Mongo or Firebase or Firestore. I don't know, depends on. And well, I have here the middlewares, which is a validation. And oh my God, this is so so wide to explain, and it's so difficult to explain. But just imagine if I watch the roots of the product, I'm going to find different actions here, and there are tons of different actions. For example, you can upload an image thanks to the upload product image controller, which at the same time uses the upload product image inside of the service to the product. And inside of the service of a product, I can make use of the use case, in this case, upload product image US. And inside of this, I use the upload file, and this is an abstract class, and this is a perfect representation of list scope substitution. So it's everything communicated each other, and we try to give its corresponding responsibility. Another of the solid principles here. The server configuration itself with all the middlewares of Express. In the future, I can change it or exchange this server with, for example, Nest.js, which is another framework of Node. But in this case, I got here on Express, as you can see here, which comes from the application class. I'm sorry. And well, this kind of application is only dedicated for Express. And then I got the validators to validate the correct information, send it from the endpoint to my database, to my backend here. And obviously I can use third library parties too here, but again, I decided to do it by myself because I think it's more educational process. And then here I got the PDFs created in this application. But on the other hand, I make use of the Cloudinary service to post our images there in the cloud. But the PDFs is gonna be stored here, and it's okay. It's just again a representation of this. For example, let me look for the product, for the service, Cloudinary service, and obviously the product makes use of it because we can upload an image of a product controller, or I don't know, in the container. I'm gonna look for it, product.container, and I got here. There are many different use cases, and it's complicated to watch and to analyze each of them. But for example, I got here the file upload service. But if I decide in the future to change it for the what is its name? The file system service, I'm going to store the images instead of the cloud in my own server, in my own computer, which is the case for the PDFs. I decided to use the file system service instead of the Cloudinary service because I didn't want to pay for this kind of service in the cloud. From my perspective, it's cheaper to keep it in my computer, and it's okay. It's just an educational progress again, and an educational project. And well, basically that's the point of the explanation of all of these backend service. And when I want to say thank you to watch this video, I'm not going to show you my env configuration variables environments because it's private, but you can find some similar information here in my .env.template. And well, as I mentioned before, I make use of the Docker to create a Postgres image, and that's okay. So that's why I'm running here my Docker service, my Docker image in my container in the port 5432, and that's okay. And well, this is just a proof of the information stored in my database, which, as you can see, is completely functional and it's a perfect solution. And well, basically, this is a nutshell how my backend was developed. There are many things that I would like to explain you, but it's too much. I mean, for example, here you got the schema.prisma, which is basically the entity relationship diagram for the database. And if I look for this on internet, I'm going to show you I'm going to be able to show you the diagram itself, but it's not the case. So as you can see, ton of information, and that's okay. And well, basically, that's what I want to say about my application. I hope you can understand what's going on, and I hope you enjoy the explanation. If you have any question, please ask me, and I'm going to be happy to say the answer to those questions. Thank you.